now storage. Okay, so the most used command to get the storage details is df. Df will give how much storage is allocated and how much is free. Okay, again you can say H for readable format and C all the devices which are mounted. So when it comes to Linux, once you plug in hard disk to the server, it will not be using that directly. You have to perform something called mount. Okay, that all the devices which are connected to a server in Linux will be shown in /dev. Okay, /dev stands for devices, and you have to take necessary actions to make those devices usable. Hard disk is also considered to be one of those devices, and first you need to format. Once you format, then you have to mount. So you can see the mount points here. Okay, so in this case I have approximately 4 terabytes. Out of that, 3.6 terabytes is assigned to the root file system. Okay, and that is the only main thing here. And then we have temporary file systems which are created over a period of time. You don't need to worry too much about these things. The main thing which you should be looking is the main ones which actually store the data. Okay, so in this case I have given, so we have 3.6 terabytes of storage which is mounted on root file system. Let me show you one more thing. In this case I am connecting to one of my nodes in the cluster. This is a Hadoop cluster, and I am connecting to one of the nodes in the cluster, and then let me run df-h on them. And now if you see, on top of root file system, where I have allocated 116 GB, 14 GB is used, 97 GB is available. There are two more which holds the data. In this case they are nothing but HDP01 and HDP02. These are directories on which these devices are mounted. Actual device names are MD3 and MD5, and these are actually mounted on HDP01 and HDP02 directories. So first we will create the directories, and then we format the hard drive or virtual drive, and then we actually mount it onto the particular directory. Okay, so the steps are: you plug in the hard drive into the computer. You will see the hard drive under /dev. Okay, if it is virtual disk, the storage admins will mount it as a virtual disk onto this computer. Those also will be shown under /dev only. Typically they will be either SD, they will start with either SD or VD. Okay, these are the terms which we typically see. Okay, once you have them, then either you will format the entire mount point, okay, using which the hard drive is mounted, or you will create something called logical volumes. Okay, these are all related to storage concept, which you need to be familiar with these terms, such as logical volumes, physical drives, etc. Okay, these days we are will be primarily getting storage from the storage pools, and instead of directly formatting, we divide that storage pool into logical volumes, and then we actually format them. And for them there are tools like LVM. Okay, LVM stands for Logical Volume Manager. So once we get the physical drive mounted or virtual storage mounted, then if we want to divide that storage into multiple logical volumes or virtual drives, we actually use LVM to divide into multiple devices, and then we format. Once we format, then we actually create a hard drive, and we'll mount that formatted logical volume or formatted physical drive, whatever storage mount point we get, and we will mount onto the hard drive. So these are the steps which we typically follow. First, get the device or virtual storage from storage pool. Then if required, you might have to use LVM to divide that storage pool or physical drive into multiple devices. Once that is done, either using the storage that is mounted or using the logical volumes, we format. Once formatted, we will create the directory to which storage has to be mounted, and then we will mount that storage using mount command. These are the steps we follow. As a developer, you don't need to understand all the commands, but you have to, or you should be able to troubleshoot whether the storage is mounted properly or not. Okay, first you can run this command df-h. Okay, and if you do not see these things, most likely the problem can be system admins might have forget to update something called fs tab, which is nothing but file system table, I guess. Okay, if they forget to add entry here, then every time you start, you have to mount manually. Every time the system is restarted, you have to mount the hard drive manually to the directory. So most likely, if system admins have said that they have mounted the file system, but if you are not seeing that as part of the output for df-h command, then system admins might have formatted the hard drive, they might have mounted to the directory, and then you might have used it for a few days, and suddenly system admins might have patched the server and they might have restarted, and then if they do not add the entry to etc fs tab, then even though the data is there in that formatted drive or formatted disk, cannot see the data in the appropriate directory. Typically we'll see the empty data or some other stuff which is directly there in the directory. Then what you have to do, you have to ask the system admins to check etc fs tab also and make sure that they add the entry into that, and then you will get the data back. A lot of guys go panic, especially the developers, when they do not see the output of the hard drives as part of df-h command, and there is no need to do so. It can be a simple mistake by system admins who fail to mount as part of etc fs tab, who fail to make the entry as part of the etc fs tab. Okay, very, very important thing to keep this in mind. No need to panic immediately if you do not see the mount points listed as part of df-h command. If after adding entry into this, again, adding the entry into this will only ensure that the directory is mounted at the time of restart. So if they forget to add this, they have to make the entry into this, and then they also have to mount for the life of the server again until they restart it. Okay, if they do not mount, you will not be seeing. So if they fail to add the entry in the beginning, then they have to do two steps. First, they have to update this file so that you are covered in each and every restart, and also they have to run the mount command once again for that restart, and then going forward they will be added. If you fail to mount after adding the entry into etc fs tab, if you fail to mount, then there is some serious issue and you have to sit with the system admins, storage admins, and troubleshoot the issue further. Okay, very, very important, keep that in mind. On top of df command, which gives you all the disk details, there is a command called du also. U stands for usage, I think D stands for disk, probably disk usage. Okay, so if you want to understand a particular amount of storage occupied by a file or directory in a server, we use du command. A very, very important command, especially while troubleshooting the issues related to mount points getting full or directories getting full, etc. That being said, now I can run du and then dot and hit enter. The default behavior is it will just get the details about each and every directory and file in this location, and finally the total size. If you want to get the output in readable format, you can say df-h and then say dot. Okay, sorry, not df, du-h and then dot, and you can see the size of each of these files, and you can see the current directory is 471 megabytes. Okay, in this case, I don't know from where it is using 471 megabytes. Probably there might be some files in this only. Yeah, so these are the two files which are taking a lot of storage. Okay, here you got the details for all the directories recursively, I guess, for not the files. Okay, if you want to get for the files directories as well, I think you have to say star. Okay, you can see here if I say star, but it did not get the hidden files details or hidden directories details. It only get the regular files and directories details. Okay, now if you want to summarize and get only a particular directory's storage, means the storage occupied by a particular directory, then you can use S for summary, and then you can say dot. It will only give the storage taken by the entire directory. It will not go to lower granular level of other directories or files within this directory. That being said, again, if you want to get it in readable format, you can say du-sh and you will get the storage occupied by this directory. Okay, very, very important command. We'll be again coming back to this du command at a later point in time. We understand how we can actually troubleshoot if there are any issues on the server because of the storage being full in a particular mount point. Okay, I will cover that at a later point in time. And then network. To get the details about network, there is a command called netstat, which tells us from where we are getting the traffic. Okay, you can see that all the foreign addresses on the server are from the nodes in the cluster itself. If I exit from here, now I am I'm on GW02, earlier I am on WN02, and if I say netstat, it actually gives the details that are coming from external IPs also. Okay, there are a bunch of them. So in this case, let me go back to the WN02 and let me run netstat command. So one of the usage of netstat command is to understand the process IDs with respect to a given port. So if you actually run a command called TULPN, so these are control arguments, it actually gives the details about the port on which, along with the process that is running on the server. Okay. So if you want to get the port for a given, and if you want to see which process is running on a particular port, then we typically use netstat-tulpn, and then you can actually say grep 8042. I'm using one of the ports. This is node manager port number in Hadoop, and we can see which server or which service is using this port. When we'll be using this, sometimes when you try to start a service, it will not be coming up. The reason could be the port which is supposed to be used by that service is being already used by some other service. Okay. And hence your service might not be coming up. Or sometimes what will happen, you might have to restart the service, but for some reason the same service might be running on the same on that port, but there might be some issue, should have disconnected from users being able to connect to that particular service. In that case, this is the port number and this is the process ID. You can get the process ID. If you think that this process ID belongs to the same service which you are trying to start now, but for some reason the service is down, but still the port is being used, daemon which have lost the context. In that scenario, first you need to kill the process, and then you might have to start the service again. Otherwise, no matter how many times you restart, if it could not get the port on which the service has to be run, then it will not be started. Okay, in those scenarios, you can use netstat command and get the process ID and kill that process ID, and you can restart. Sometimes there can be some other service which might be important for some other application might be running. In that case, you have to talk to the relevant teams, and either you have to change the port number for your services which are running on that server, or the other teams which might be running their services have to change their port number. Okay, it's very sensitive. If two people or two applications trying to use the same port numbers, you guys have to negotiate and you have to use unique port number.